Hello everyone, I'm Chad Lee and welcome to the show. Today we're diving headfirst into the wild, wacky, and occasionally wonderful world of the US government, because believe it or not, there are actually some things it does quite well. Now I know what you're thinking. Chad, this is America. We're more familiar with government dysfunction than we are with our own families at this point. And you're not wrong. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. And this, my friends, is not a broken clock. This is a 12-part series highlighting the good, the surprisingly effective, and the occasionally baffling things that this government actually gets right. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a patriotic roller coaster ride through the surprisingly functional side of American governance. Let's dive right in. First up, we have the big, foundational idea that, at least on paper, makes America so unique. Democracy. That's right, the US government is, in theory, all about giving citizens a voice, a vote, and the chance to say, hey, I wouldn't have necessarily gone with that orange carpet in the Oval Office, but hey, that's democracy, baby. Now, is it a perfect system? Of course not. Is it sometimes messy, chaotic, and feels like watching a bunch of toddlers argue over a juice box? Absolutely. But it's ours, damn it, and we're going to try and make it work. Next up, we've got the Bill of Rights. Those first 10 amendments to the Constitution that essentially say, all right, government, here are some lines you absolutely cannot cross, even if you really, really want to. We're talking freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, because apparently that was a big deal back then, and a whole bunch of other freedoms that we often take for granted. Look, are there debates about the interpretation and application of these rights? Sure, constantly. But the fact that they're enshrined in a document that even the most power-hungry politician has to at least pretend to respect, that's something worth celebrating. Here in America, we like our condiments like we like our government separated. That's where the separation of powers comes in, dividing the federal government into three branches: the executive, legislative, and judicial, each with its own unique responsibilities and, crucially, the ability to keep the other two in check. It's like a three-way game of rock, paper, scissors, but instead of bruised egos, we get a system designed to prevent tyranny and ensure that no single person or entity can amass too much power. Is it always efficient? No. Does it sometimes feel like watching a legislative snail race? Absolutely. But hey, at least it's less messy than that ranch dressing situation. Chapter 4. Peaceful Transfer of Power. Because we've learned our lesson about guillotines, mostly. One of the cornerstones of American democracy is the peaceful transfer of power. Every 4 years, we hold presidential elections, and the winner, hopefully, gets the keys to the White House, while the loser, hopefully, doesn't burn the place down on the way out. It's a testament to the enduring strength of our institutions that, despite heated rhetoric and the occasional electoral hiccup, we've managed to avoid the coups, revolutions, and violent power grabs that have plagued other nations. Chapter 5. Freedom of Speech and Press, where you're free to say what you want as long as you don't mind the consequences, and Twitter mobs. The First Amendment. That beautiful, messy, occasionally infuriating cornerstone of American democracy. Here in the United States, you're free to express your opinions, criticize the government, and even wear Crocs in public without fear of government censorship, though your fashion choices may draw some side-eye. Of course, freedom of speech isn't without its challenges. It means we have to tolerate views we find abhorrent, wade through a sea of misinformation online, and accept that sometimes people will say things that make us question the very fabric of humanity. Chapter 6. Strong National Defense. Because apparently, freedom isn't free, it's really, really expensive. The United States has a long and complicated history with its military, but there's no denying that its armed forces are a formidable force on the world stage. From intervening in global conflicts to providing humanitarian aid, the U.S. military plays a complex and often controversial role in international affairs. Now, there's plenty of room for debate about the appropriate use of military power, the vast sums of money spent on defense, and the ethical implications of America's global military presence. But there's no question that the U.S. military is a powerful force, for better or for worse. Chapter 7. Checks and Balances. Making sure no one branch gets too big for its britches. We've already talked about the separation of powers, but the real genius of the American system lies in the checks and balances woven throughout the government. This intricate web of oversight ensures that each branch has the power to rein in the other two, preventing any one group from amassing too much power. Think of it like a group project where everyone has to sign off on each other's work. Sure, it can lead to some bureaucratic gridlock, but it also prevents any one person from going rogue and turning the whole project into a potato battery-powered interpretive dance about the French Revolution, unless that's what the people want, in which case power to the potato. Chapter 8. Economic Power and Stability, or at least, we try to give that impression. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that the United States has a massive economy, one that plays a significant role in global markets. The government, through its policies and regulations, aims to maintain economic stability, support businesses, and promote growth. With varying degrees of success, it's worth noting. Of course, the American economy is far from perfect. We've got income inequality, recessions, and the ever-looming threat of inflation. But hey, at least we're not on the gold standard anymore, right? That's something to be thankful for. Chapter 9. Infrastructure and Public Services. Because potholes and a lack of public libraries are not a good look. From roads and bridges to schools and hospitals, the government plays a vital role in providing essential infrastructure and public services that keep the country running relatively smoothly. Sure, our roads might have more potholes than a game of Tetris, and our public transportation system could use some serious work. But hey, at least we're not all drinking rainwater and relying on carrier pigeons for communication, right? Okay, maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but the point is, infrastructure and public services matter, and the government plays a crucial role in providing them. One of the hallmarks of a functioning democracy is an independent judiciary, a system where judges are free to make decisions based on the law, not on political pressure or the whims of those in power. In the United States, federal judges are appointed for life, which helps insulate them from political influence. Of course, no system is perfect, and judicial appointments have become increasingly politicized in recent years. But the principle of an independent judiciary remains a vital safeguard against tyranny and injustice. One of the unique features of the U.S. government is its federalist system, which divides power between the federal government and individual state and local governments. This means that states and cities have a significant degree of autonomy, allowing them to tailor policies to the specific needs of their populations. It's like having a decentralized pizza chain. Each state gets to choose its own toppings, so to speak, while still operating under the same basic pizza-making principles. Sure, it can lead to some inconsistencies and regional disparities, but it also allows for greater flexibility and responsiveness to local concerns. Despite its many flaws and often contradictory actions, the United States remains a global superpower with a significant capacity for humanitarian aid and international leadership. From disaster relief efforts to promoting democracy and human rights, the U.S. government has the potential to be a force for good in the world. Of course, America's track record on the world stage is far from spotless. We've got our fair share of foreign policy blunders, military interventions, and questionable alliances. But there's also no denying that the U.S. has the resources and the capacity to make a positive difference in the world when it chooses to do so. So, there you have it, folks. 12 reasons why the U.S. government, despite its many flaws, isn't a complete dumpster fire. From democratic principles to economic power, from individual rights to the often messy pursuit of a more perfect union, there's a lot to appreciate about the American experiment. Of course, this doesn't mean we should shy away from criticizing the government or holding our elected officials accountable. In fact, it's more important than ever to engage in thoughtful, informed civic discourse and work towards creating a more just and equitable society for all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this list, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content.